person is angry over everything that has happened. But this time, he has an opportunity to open up and tell his story in his own words.
Well, Angela, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. And obviously, we have a lot to chat about. But from a psychologist standpoint, what was your initial reaction when you read Harry's book?
As I read it, I was just feeling this is a young person expressing themselves. This is, as I read through it, I could see a lot of a traumatized person, someone who has what we call compounded trauma. So, and what we mean by compounded trauma is when you have gone through trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, and especially in childhood, there are some things that he revealed, and I was thinking, that, and then it doesn't stop there. It comes on again in his adulthood, and especially he talks about his relationship with his multiracial wife, and then he's subjected to what we call racism by proxy. And I could see this person is angry over everything that has happened, but this time he has an opportunity to open up and tell his story in his own words.
So do you think that that was his goal for the book? You know, was it a healing experience, or was it, you know, an opportunity to sort of dig at his family?
This is my belief. I think he got an opportunity to take back his power, because everything that has been said about him was, quote unquote, what he says is lies, right? But this time he has an opportunity to tell his own story in his own words. Of course, we don't live in isolation. And because we don't live in isolation, we have other associations, including our families. And therefore, mentioning his family, it had to be, because he didn't grow up alone. He wasn't an orphan in some island all alone. So when you're presenting your experiences, it's going to include other people. And sometimes some of the things that we mention may not be pretty.
Do you feel like he is still suffering from those traumas that you were talking about? Obviously, the death of his mother, you know, racism by proxy, or do you think that he's starting to process this trauma?
What I felt was he's got some anger, but at the same time, he has begun to process. And here is what happens when we begin to process and when we begin to heal. We sort of take back our power, right? And possibly that's why the family, some of members of the families were saying, oh, wherever you're going for therapy, you're being brainwashed, because you begin to become, you know, it's like peeling an onion. You begin to become you, the you that they didn't know before, because you are clouded by everything. Yeah, there's usually 3 levels of what we call like moral development, right? For every one of us, right? And we have the one that's called a pre-conventional. The pre-conventional is where, and all of us have been there as kids, we just followed the rules, and you know, like it was blind obedience, and we follow everything for the sake of authority. And it is usually because, oh, I'm scared, I might be punished. And all of us have done it as little kids. And then as we grow, we move to the second level, which is called the conventional level. And this is about, we begin to live in you know, for the expectation of other people, right? And then we fulfill our duties and our obligations in society, and we uphold laws, right? So we are following rules. And then there's another third level, right? Which a lot of us never go to that level. right? And I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because it's important we put things in perspective, and not just for Harry's pair, but also for ourselves, so that when we are reading the book, if we can try our best to come without, without the glasses, because we all have preconceived notions when we've had so many things from the media and everything. So we are coming to read this with these glasses, with tainted glasses. But what if we could remove that and just read it and hear what he's saying? And that's why I'm talking about these three conventional levels. So this second level, which is where we live up to other people's expectations, we follow rules. Most of us never jump away from that. Why? Because as one of our psychologists, Rollo May, said, the opposite of courage is not cowardice. It is conformity, where we do everything that everyone expects us to do. Mm-hmm. And now the third level, this is where you have internalized universal principles of justice and the right. And also you begin to act as an independent and an ethical, person, regardless of other people's expectations, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason I say this, what I see is, as Harry begins to heal, he begins to become who he believes he was meant to be. He's almost unafraid of jumping out of this conformity where it was about following the rules. You see, he's from the royal family, right? And all of us expect, there's this bubble. We don't talk about these things. There are things we don't talk about. There are things we don't mention, right? And now what he's doing, he's beginning to perforate that bubble, right? And it's uncomfortable for a lot of us. It's uncomfortable. We're like, oh my God, we don't go there. And that's why there's a lot of backlash. But it happens all the time when someone begins to go against the grain, because we are so afraid of moving to that level. In fact, as psychologists, we know about only 15% of the whole population, billions of people, actually move to this level we call post-conventional level, because it requires a lot of courage for you to speak about things that actually don't align with universal principles. It requires a lot of courage. And that is what we see in Harry's book. That, let me not say we, that's what I saw in Harry's book. He's talking about, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. And it's jerking almost everyone. And it's uncomfortable. I think it's really uncomfortable to his family, to many, many people, because that's not what we want to see the royal family as this clean, crisp, all put together. And then we have this person who begins to listen to a different drama, who begins to listen to his heart, right? And now he's saying things that, no one dares say such things. And now there are people who are either loving him because they identify themselves with him, because there's a lot of us that want to share things, but we are so afraid. But then there's also, on the other hand, what's going to happen to him? And our fairy tale has been broken. And we don't like to hear that. Most people don't like to hear that. They want this image, this crisp and clean image, to remain as it is.
For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.